ये फिल्म एक ऐसे इंसान के बारे में है जिसे लोग एल्विस ऑफ पंजाब कहते हैं. एंड व्हेन यू वॉच दिस फिल्म यू काइंड ऑफ स्टार्ट टू रियलाइज व्हाई दैट इज एक्चुअली काइंड ऑफ ट्रू. A film about someone who is so sensational, someone who is, I guess, the highest record selling artist of his time, is going to be a film that will make you sit up and listen. And it's ironic I say this about this film, but हमेशा ढोल ताशे नहीं चाहिए होते हैं किसी फिल्म को पॉपुलर बनाने के लिए. Sometimes just heart is enough. Hi, I'm Pratiksha Mishra and you're listening to my review of Chamkila. Like the name suggests, Netflix's latest film Chamkila is about the hit Punjabi music duo Amar Singh Chamkila and his wife Amarjot Kaur. These characters are played by Diljit Dosanjh and Parineeti Chopra. इस फिल्म में बात करने के लिए बहुत कुछ है, तो हम पहले कास्ट और परफॉर्मेंसेस की बात कर लेते हैं. द सपोर्टिंग कास्ट स्पेशली वर्क्स वेरी वेल इन दिस फिल्म. सबके पास ज़्यादा कुछ करने को है नहीं बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली द फिल्म इज फोकसिंग ऑन इट्स लीड्स, बट जिसका जितना भी रोल है उन्होंने काफ़ी अच्छी तरीके से निभाया है. हर कैरेक्टर का जो भी रोल है या तो चमकीला की लाइफ में या फिल्म के नरेटिव में, एवरी एक्टर हैज़ अंडरस्टूड, दे अंडरस्टूड व्हाट दे स्टैंड फॉर एंड दैट इज व्हाई ऑल ऑफ दीज रोल्स प्ले आउट वेरी वेल. व्हेन इट कम्स टू द लीड एक्टर्स, आई थिंक दिलजीत दोसांझ इज द परफेक्ट पर्सन to cast in this role. Even when it comes to him, just himself as a singer, उनका एक grassroots appeal है. If we're thinking about his viral Coachella moment और the lockdown में जो cooking videos वो बनाते थे और all the kind of real audios of him that go viral, there is an authenticity to him as Diljit. और वो जो charm है, वो जो rawness है, it also translates to screen as Chamkila, which works perfectly for this role. He had shown what a great actor he is in Jogi as well, and even here just the seriousness of the concept, of the script, or even the premise mixed with kind of just how light-hearted Chamkila was as a person or who we see on screen works brilliantly because of how well Diljit has also played the character. Then there is Parineeti Chopra as his wife Amarjot, who would sing all these duets with him. उनकी जोड़ी बहुत ज़बरदस्त हिट हो गई थी. Now, as Amarjot, we see Parineeti Chopra vanish, which is a great thing in a film. जब आपको ऐसा नहीं लगता कि किसी कैरेक्टर ने किसी रोल को पहना है और instead it feels like they have transformed into that role, it works. The character of Amarjot is a very complex one. She seems meek and silent but not submissive. And that is a very complex kind of emotion to portray, especially if you don't have a lot of dialogues. And Parineeti Chopra does do that very well. ऐसे बहुत सारे scenes हैं where we see her express without saying anything at all. And that would not have worked without acting prowess. Diljit Dosanjh and Parineeti Chopra's chemistry works very well, especially on stage when they're at their akhadas performing, and that's a good thing because otherwise they would not have been believable as just the electric jodi that Amar Singh Chamkila and Amarjot were. Now let's talk about the film as a whole. Chamkila is a very controversial artist. उनके lyrics बहुत ही raunchy, provocative and often sexual in nature थे और उसके लिए उनको काफ़ी criticism भी मिलता था from the conservatives of that time, and I'm sure this is a criticism that still continues. But if you take a deeper look into his repertoire, अगर आप उनके ज़्यादा गाने सुनने लगो, so you'll understand that that's not completely black and white as a discussion. He's also sang about issues that plagued Punjab. He sang about domestic strife. He sings about class divide, and all of this is in his music. Chamkila in this film often speaks about how he's making this music because audience सुन रही है, and that's true because he was selling records at just record breaking pace, I guess, and that happened because the audience liked his music. He was singing things that people wanted to hear, and that is how in this Imtiaz Ali film the microscope isn't as much on Chamkila and Amarjot as it is on the audience. The film is constantly telling you to think कि अगर किसी चीज़ का डिमांड नहीं है तो उसका सप्लाई भी नहीं होगा. It's asking you to think if the solution is to just criticize these lyrics or criticize the songs, or is it important to kind of look into why they become this popular, look into societal structures that result in this kind of popularity, that where is this mass appeal coming from? Are we viewing morality through a kind of Puritan gaze? Is there kind of a nuance that we're missing when we're speaking about these subjects? And the best way that this film does this is by kind of exploring the interconnection between content consumption and the class divide. आपने बहुत बार देखा होगा कि जो रील्स हम देखते हैं या जो टिकटॉक वीडियोस हम देखा करते थे, a lot of them were labeled as cringe. But lot of these creators were some of the most popular creators on these apps, and these videos would also often cross millions of views. And that kind of started a conversation कि the things that we're calling cringe, does it come from a sense of class privilege? Does it come from a sense of looking down upon content that we either don't understand or we don't care to understand why it has a mass appeal? वी ऑलवेज अज्यूम कि अगर कुछ कंटेंट है जो या तो गांव में पॉपुलर है या छोटे शहरों में पॉपुलर है, वो हमारे सेंसिबिलिटीज़ के लिए नहीं है, एंड दैट्स अगेन अ वेरी प्रिविलेज्ड वे टू लुक एट थिंग्स, एंड दैट्स अ टॉपिक दैट दिस फिल्म ऑफन टचेज अपॉन. While speaking about Chamkila, we cannot, however, keep his caste identity aside. This was a Dalit man in an intercaste marriage. जो उनका caste identity है और how it affects his art or him as a person, वो इस फिल्म में ज़्यादा explore नहीं होता है, but it hasn't been pushed aside completely either. अगर हम देखें कि अमर सिंह चमकीला के सबसे popular tracks कौन से थे, then two mainly come to mind. One is पहले ललकार नाल and the other would be maybe चस्का पै गया. And I'm really sorry for the pronunciation, but when we look at these songs, another topic of conversation comes up, and that has been discussed a lot with kind of respect to Chamkila's music as well. It's that of hypermasculinity. And we can't deny that there was a presence of hypermasculinity in Amar Singh Chamkila's songs, but again, that is not a black and white discussion. उनके कुछ गाने ऐसे भी थे where we would see the female character in the song have agency over her sexuality, and that also explains maybe why he had such a large legion of female fans. This is also something that the film does focus on. It takes the conversation of the male gaze and kind of turns it over the head to also look at why Chamkila had so many female fans. Set primarily in the villages of Punjab, one way that the film does this is by showing us the older generation of women जो ये बोलते हैं कि वो अमर सिंह चमकीला के गानों से इसलिए कनेक्ट कर पाते हैं because they're kind of reminded of the folk songs that they sing when they're alone, just together. I also really like the way that we get to see how a lot of women are kind of exploring their sexuality while listening to this music, even though admittedly a lot of it is considered obscene by everyone around them. And that is why Naram Kalja is one of my favorite tracks from this film, because we see how freeing the concept or the idea behind a song like that can be. A lot of times we view sexuality through the male gaze, चाहे वो बड़े पर्दे पे हो या असली ज़िंदगी में, especially because of the way patriarchal conditioning works. To see this kind of film explore the other side of it was very interesting and truly kind of picks the film up several notches, क्योंकि ये फिल्म बहुत बेसिक एक स्टोरी हो सकता था. In the beginning it says कि it's kind of a fictionalized retelling of stories and it has used a lot of dramatic liberty, and it could have taken the easy way out of kind of using exposition and just using heavy emotions to make the audience feel things, but no, instead it actually tries to explore a lot. But honestly, my bad, I forgot to say this in the beginning, we have to talk about the film's music. हमें अमर सिंह चमकीला के काफ़ी गाने सुनने को मिलते हैं which obviously are iconic, but there are also songs that have been created by A.R. Rahman and Irshad Kamil, and huge kudos, massive kudos to Irshad Kamil for the lyrics, क्योंकि उनको जो, and I don't like using this word, but जो vibe capture करना था उन्होंने वो perfectly किया है. The lyrics that he's written for these songs matches the other songs that we hear perfectly. जो एक kind of raunchiness है, जो एक fun है इन गानों का, has been captured very very well by both these artists. Kudos to the director as well, क्योंकि भले ही ये एक म्यूजिकल फिल्म हो, कभी भी म्यूजिक नरेटिव को ओवर पार नहीं करती है, फोकस हमेशा मूवी का क्लियर है. माई फेवरेट थिंग अबाउट द फिल्म इज द वे इट्स स्ट्रक्चर्ड. फिल्म का काफ़ी हिस्सा हमें एक डिबेट की तरह नजर आता है बिटवीन अ हार्ड हेडेड कॉप एंड चमकीलाज फ्रेंड्स. वो लोग आपस में वही डिबेट कर रहे हैं जो शायद सालों से लोग चमकीला की लेगेसी को लेकर और उनके गानों को लेकर करते आए हैं. दैट इज़ अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग काइंड ऑफ, I think, medium to choose for this film. Speaking of mediums, this film does use mixed medium in the sense that ठीक है, हमें archival footage और archival photos देखने को मिलते हैं, that's different, but there's also animation used in it and there's also a comic book art style used. It sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. I think the comic book style was more effective because it was more, I think, effective for me personally to just feel my emotions through the story. The Imtiaz Ali effect is visible throughout the film, especially in the writing which he has done along with Sajid Ali. This is a film that is just proof of how well show don't tell works. बहुत ही astute तरीके से सारे scenes को structure किया गया है. Sure, the second half of the film might feel a little faster in pace than the first one. It feels a little rushed, I will admit. और कहीं कहीं पे लगता है कि the film could have delved into more nuance than it did in that particular scene. But despite all of that, there's never a dull moment in the film. This is after all a story inspired by true events. It's about lives that were lost. तो वो जो एक gravity है situation का, वो ये film कभी lose नहीं करती है despite having some of its lighter hearted moments. Speaking of technical aspects, the cinematography here has been done by Sylvester Fonseca, who, if I'm remembering right, has also done the cinematography for Choked. And I really love how he uses space in cinema. जो हम अखाड़ा देख रहे हैं, जो हम fan worship देख रहे हैं, जो हम अमरजोत और चमकीला के बीच में just domestic discussions देख रहे हैं, all of those are captured very, very well just by the way the cinematographer is viewing the space that it is set in. I did not expect Chamkila to be such an easy movie to watch, in the sense that it lets the audience do a lot of the thinking. It lets the audience do a lot of the absorbing. Even when we're seeing violence take place on screen, it is done in a way where it's never forcing you to feel things. You're constantly just a viewer trying to understand what is going on in the film and what it implies. Just to kind of wrap things off, there are places where the background score can feel a little overwhelming, especially since ये एक ऐसी फिल्म है जहाँ पे म्यूजिक हमें बहुत ज़्यादा सुनने को मिलता है and it's good music. So this background music just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. I did, however, love how we see just the journey of a child. We see how when Chamkila was a child, he was exposed to so many things, and that's what ended up making him the person that he was. This film is asking you questions like, जब हम कहते हैं कि अच्छा बच्चों पे बुरा असर पड़ेगा, are we actually concerned, or are we using it as an excuse to moral police people? Are we actually concerned about how quote-unquote harmful content might affect people, or are we just using it in a way to censor things that we don't like? These are all conversations that we should be having with ourselves. These are questions we should be asking ourselves and the people around us. And that is why Chamkila isn't just an enjoyable film to watch, it's also an important one. And that is why my rating for Netflix's Chamkila is 4 stars out of 5.